Disney has a long and storied tradition of dazzling nighttime parades, starting with the beloved Main Street Electrical Parade, which debuted at Disneyland in 1972. This parade set a new standard for theme park entertainment, and it's largely responsible for the creation of Paint the Night. But this now iconic parade was actually preceded by another electrical light show, one which is still on parade today. Before I paint the story of these iconic parades, I'd like to quickly remind you to like and subscribe. Thank you. In 1971, to celebrate the opening of Walt Disney World, a dozen floats constructed of wood, chicken wire, and Christmas lights were paraded across Bay Lake to the tune of an experimental electronic pop song from 1967 called the Baroque Hoedown. This little show was known as the Electrical Water Pageant. It stopped at the Polynesian and Contemporary resorts, and later a stop at the entrance to the Magic Kingdom was added. With some slight alterations, this water parade is still held today, stopping now at the Contemporary, Polynesian, Grand Floridian, and Wilderness resorts. For Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary celebration in 2021, a celebratory float was added to the water pageant and later removed in 2023. With the popularity of this water pageant and the new resort in general, the original Disneyland resort decided it too wanted in on the electrical pageant. But without the water to house an exact clone, an all-new parade needed to be created. The Rivers of America were considered for a spot to house this water pageant, but it was eventually decided against, and thus a land parade needed to be constructed. For this new parade, the Baroque Hoedown was once again used, but this time it was also mixed with melodies from various Disney songs. Unlike the electrical water pageant, which focused mostly on sea creatures, this parade featured floats themed to Disney classics, Pinocchio, Dumbo, Alice in Wonderland, and Cinderella, as well as a Chinese-style dragon and a patriotic finale, similar to the one that concluded the electrical water pageant, allowing this part of the soundtrack to be reused. In 1973, the Chinese dragon was changed out for a Maleficent float. The Main Street Electrical Parade was a huge hit. It kept guests in the park longer, boosting food sales, and was so popular that Disney added a second nightly performance, the first time they had ever had to do so. After running until 1974, it was paused for America on Parade, a bicentennial celebration of the country at both Disneyland and Walt Disney World. In 1977, Disney completely rebuilt the parade, with new 3D floats, updated technology, and a revamped soundtrack. Around the same time, Walt Disney World wanted its own version, so a near-identical clone, slightly wider for Florida's pathways, was created. This new light parade overshadowed the original electric water pageant, but instead of retiring it, Disney revamped this too, and the pageant got a new look and a new soundtrack. These new versions of the Main Street Electrical Parade featured some major new additions: an expanded Alice in Wonderland section, a full Cinderella scene, a Dumbo circus, an underwater Bedknobs and Broomsticks float, which would later be replaced by a Pinocchio float, a Pete's Dragon float, an It's a Small World float, and a neon finale that was swapped for the patriotic Stars and Stripes ending in 1979. Disneyland's version also added a Peter Pan and a Snow White float. In 1981, the Fox and the Hound float was added to both versions in order to promote this new movie. And in 1978, a float was added to Magic Kingdom's version to celebrate Mickey Mouse's 50th birthday. Then, from 1986 until 1987, a float was added to celebrate Walt Disney World's 15th anniversary. In 1978, several of the Disneyland Parade's floats were used for a special performance in the halftime show of the 1978 Orange Bowl. Disneyland's version of this parade ran until 1982. Not to be left out, Tokyo Disneyland brought the show over in 1985. It mostly matched Disneyland's version with a few differences: a new Swan Lake unit and no Stars and Stripes finale. It ran for nearly a decade and became the park's longest running parade. The parade returned to Disneyland from 1985 until 1996, during which time a variety of limited-time floats were added. In 1985, there was a float to promote the film Return to Oz. From 1988 until 1989, there was a new float to celebrate Mickey Mouse's 60th birthday. And in 1990, there was a float to celebrate Disneyland's 35th anniversary. Meanwhile, Walt Disney World's version lagged behind. By the early 1990s, it had fewer floats and outdated technology. With Walt Disney World's 20th anniversary approaching, a new creative team began to work on a brand new nighttime parade. This parade would become Spectro Magic. Debuting on October 1st, 1991, Spectro Magic featured 600,000 lights, 37 floats, 61 costumes, over 100 miles of fiber optic cable, and new effects like liquid neon, UV plastics, and gas plasma. Its finale included 30 color-changing costumes and floats that morphed in sync with music. This might not sound that impressive to us today, but this was well before color-changing LEDs ever existed. It was by far the most advanced parade Disney had ever created. And with this, the Main Street Electrical Parade from Florida was shipped to the soon-to-be-open Euro Disneyland in 1992. It was slightly modified with the American finale removed, and it became the first Disney park to open with a nighttime parade. After a decade-long run, Tokyo Disney's version of the Electrical Parade ended in June 1995. A month later, Fantalusion debuted, created by the same team responsible for SpectroMagic, and this new show featured 31 floats. Fantalusion was a hit, so Disney wanted to bring a similar update to Disneyland in California. But here, they ran into resistance from fans. Nevertheless, they went ahead with their plans and created Light Magic. On May 13, 1997, an annual pass holder preview of this parade was held, and it was an absolute disaster. Lights failed, sound systems crashed, and angry fans booed the parade. But the official premiere on May 23rd went a lot better. However, even when running perfectly, audiences still didn't love the parade. And after a rough summer run, Light Magic ended its run on Labor Day 1997. Disney announced a 2-year hiatus to revive this show, but it never returned. The Main Street Electrical Parade returned to Walt Disney World in 1999, mostly unchanged from its 1996 Disneyland version, though this new version now included the Peter Pan and Snow White units, and it omitted Pinocchio, which had been sent to Paris. It ran until April 1st, 2001, when SpectroMagic returned with updated animatronic figures. On June 14th, 1997, a variant of the Main Street Electrical Parade, called the Hercules Electrical Parade, ran on Broadway in New York City for the opening of Disney's New Amsterdam Theatre and to promote the film Hercules. Over in California, the brand new park, Disney's California Adventure, was struggling to attract guests. And to fill the nighttime entertainment gap at this failing park, Disney brought back the Main Street Electrical Parade, renamed just to Disney's Electrical Parade as this park didn't have its own Main Street, and the first show took place on July 2nd, 2001. While it didn't create huge crowds, it certainly did help to boost Disney's California Adventure's attendance. Meanwhile, Tokyo Disneyland retired Fantalusion in 2001 and introduced a brand new parade called Dreamlight, a massively upgraded version of the Electrical Parade. Debuting exactly 21 years after the original, Dreamlights featured enhanced floats, millions of lights, new IPs like Toy Story, and a brand new orchestral soundtrack. Originally launched to compete with the opening of Tokyo Disney Sea, it became Tokyo Disney's longest running parade, being regularly updated and still going strong today. In Europe, Disneyland Paris ended its 11-year Electrical Parade run and brought Fantalusion out of storage, albeit a scaled-down version, to try to draw more visitors during a slump for the park. The Electrical Parade from Paris was sent to Hong Kong, where it sat unused. This version of the parade has actually not been seen since. It is rumoured that the floats were quietly dumped into the bay years later, but I think it's more likely that they're either still in storage or were disposed of in a more typical way. By the late 2000s, nighttime parades had mostly stabilised with few changes. In 2009, Disney launched Summer Night-tastic, featuring brand new shows, a revamped Fantasmic, and a major update to Disney's Electrical Parade. Inspired by Tokyo's Dreamlight, Disney upgraded the parade with LED lights, new floats, a Tinkerbell opening, and an updated soundtrack. This refresh was a huge success. In 2010, the parade left California due to the construction of California Adventure, and it returned to the Magic Kingdom. Despite being billed as the Main Street Electrical Parade, it still had the Disney's Electrical Parade logo on the opening float. SpectroMagic quietly ended its run on June 4, 2010, and the Electrical Light Parade took over the next day. It was meant to be temporary, but was extended indefinitely due to the popularity and California's construction delays. However, Florida fans wanted SpectroMagic back. But sadly, this would never happen, as the parade had been destroyed. Stored in poor conditions since 2010, by 2013, most of the parade's floats had deteriorated beyond repair. Thus, the Electrical Light Parade remained here until 2016, after which it would travel back to Disneyland for a limited time encore run, starting on January 20th, 2017, and ending on August 20th, 2017. In Paris, Fantalusion ended in 2012 due to budget cuts. It wasn't replaced, making it the last regularly scheduled nighttime parade at Disneyland Paris. Over the decades, Disney certainly experimented with various forms of nighttime entertainment, but by the mid-2010s, with Spectro Magic permanently out of action, there was growing demand for a new successor to the Electrical Light Parade. It is from this demand that the idea for Paint the Night was born.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Disney proudly presents our spectacular nighttime pageant of magic and imagination in millions of dazzling lights and astounding musical sounds. It's the Paint the Night
The idea was to create a cutting-edge nighttime experience that fused the nostalgia of the Electrical Parade with modern lighting, music, storytelling, and technology. With this, Paint the Night would become Disney's first fully LED parade, blending more than 1.5 million individual lights, interactive performer costumes, and advanced choreography synchronized to music and visual cues. Although for many, Paint the Night is best associated with Disneyland's 60th anniversary celebration, the parade officially premiered at Hong Kong Disneyland on October 1st, 2014, as a part of the park's 9th anniversary celebration. The show featured 7 themed units based on classic and modern Disney and Pixar properties, these being Monsters Inc., Cars, The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Toy Story, Peter Pan, and Mickey Mouse as the grand finale. Each performer wore costumes embedded with LED light that could change color and intensity wirelessly. The parade also introduced interactive Mickey Magic paintbrushes, which allow guests to change the color patterns on performers' costumes in real time. The accompanying soundtrack was a hybrid of the original Baroque Hoedown theme and a newly composed anthem, When Can I See You Again by Owl City, which was first composed for the Disney film Wreck-It Ralph, blending both nostalgia and a more modern pop tone. The US debut of Paint the Night took place on May 22nd, 2015 at the Disneyland Park. This parade was part of Disneyland's Diamond Celebration, honoring the park's 60th anniversary. The parade was extensively reimagined for the larger space and audience in California. This version featured 9 dazzling units, the 2 new ones being themed to Frozen and the Disney Princesses. Paint the Night continued here until September 2016, when it was temporarily retired to make way for the return of the Main Street Electrical Parade in 2017. However, due to its popularity, Paint the Night was brought back pretty quickly. Paint the Night was moved to the Magic Kingdom, but there was a problem. It didn't fit. Rather than redesign the route, Disney scrapped the idea and shipped the parade back to California. During the D23 Expo on July 15, 2017, Paint the Night was officially announced to be returning, but this time to Disney's California Adventure beginning on April 13, 2018, as a part of the Pixar Fest event. The show was slightly modified, most notably having the Frozen float removed due to spatial constraints. The Disney California Adventure version also saw the addition of a new float themed after The Incredibles. Originally scheduled to end on September 3rd, 2018 with the rest of Pixar Fest, the parade actually continued until November 7th, 2018. Later in 2019, with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge opening and concerns about crowding, Disney initially planned for no new nighttime show that summer. But when attendance lagged, they quickly brought back the original Soarin' Over California, revived the fan-favorite Disneyland Forever fireworks, and, of course, brought back the Main Street Electrical Parade for what was referred to as a limited farewell run. It returned on August 2nd and ended on September 30th, 2019. On January 25th, 2020, Hong Kong Disneyland's version of Paint the Night made its final performance, due to the unplanned closure of the park. By April 2021, rumours swirled that the Main Street Electrical Parade would return to Disneyland when it reopened, and indeed it did 1 year later, celebrating the parade's 50th anniversary with a new It's a Small World finale float. The parade's 50th anniversary run began on April 20th, 2022, during a soft opening that was live-streamed on the Disney Parks blog, and the parade had its final performance of the season on September 1st, 2022. In October 2024, the California version of Paint the Night Light was announced to be returning to the Disneyland park as part of the Disneyland Resort's 70th anniversary celebration. With this, Paint the Night just recently made its return to Disneyland on May the 14th, 2025. Paint the Night certainly raised the bar for future Disney parades and nighttime entertainment. In fact, its success has inspired many technological and artistic elements in Disney parades that have followed. A spin-off of the Electrical Light Parade performed at Disneyland Paris from January the 8th, 2024 until January the 9th, 2025, which was called Disney Electrical Sky Parade. This honored the Paris version of the parade using drones, water effects, projections, and pyrotechnics placed on drones. In 2016, a Main Street Electrical Parade float was added to the Newport Beach Christmas Boat Parade, an interesting tribute to the history of this parade. Finally, there is the Disney Starlight Dream the Night Away Parade, which is set to debut at Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom on July the 20th, 2025. This parade will be the first new electrical light-inspired parade since Paint the Night debuted back in 2014. The Disney Starlight Parade will feature state-of-the-art technology, including curved LED panels and pinpoint lighting effects, bringing to life a series of floats inspired by both classic and contemporary Disney stories. The parade is set to open with the ethereal Blue Fairy from Pinocchio, followed by floats inspired by Peter Pan, Frozen 2, Encanto, Moana, Coco, the Disney Princesses, and Wish. The finale will showcase a locomotive engineered by Goofy, followed behind by Pluto, Donald and Daisy Duck, Snow White, Dopey, Rapunzel, Flynn Rider, Aladdin, and Jasmine. Bringing up the rear will of course be Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse, who will sport a new set of starry costumes for the occasion. A custom musical score weaving in familiar Disney parks melodies will accompany the parade. As a huge fan of both the Main Street Electrical Light Parade and Paint the Night, I couldn't be more excited to see this brand new parade. It's such a joy to witness the legacy of the Electrical Light Parade, or should I say, the water pageant. Through all these new parades and even updates to the original one, the legacy is able to live on and make new memories for families across the Disney resorts. I know it's a tough question to ask, but I'd love to know which parade you prefer, Paint the Night or the Main Street Electrical Light Parade. If you find this impossible to answer, just let me know your favourite float from each. Personally, I can't choose a favourite parade, but as far as floats go, it's the Electrical Light Parade, Pete's Dragon or Casey Jr., and Paint the Night, Mac or Mickey Mouse finale. I'd also love to know which park you most associate each parade with. For me, it has to be the place that I first saw each. Magic Kingdom for the Main Street Electrical Light Parade, and Disneyland for Paint the Night. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, check out some of my other videos and the links in the description. And for my final question, I'd like to ask you all, when can we do this again?